Right, good morning members, good morning officers, good morning members of the public. A very warm welcome to the September meeting of Southampton District Council Executive. We've got about 11 items on the agenda this morning, so we'll crack right on with item 1, which is minutes to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of the Executive held on the 17th of July 2025. Members, any corrections, observations, anything to add to those minutes, or can we take them as a correct record? Can't see any debate on that, Mr. White, so okay, grand. Item 2, urgent business. I'm not aware of any urgent business that needs to be brought forward today. Item 3, division of the agenda. Again, I don't think we've got anything that's likely to move us into part 2 at any point today. Item 4, declarations of interest. In accordance with the Code of Conduct, members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests, including the nature and extent of such interests they may have in any items to be considered at this meeting. No? Okay. Right, before
Chair, excuse me, just to take you back, there's an exempt section in my report that if members want to drill down into, we would have to go into part 2.
Yeah, okay. So at that point, if necessary, Councillor Rake, we will. Right, before I move on to public question time, particularly around agenda item 7, Kingsbridge Pump Track, I'm minded to suspend standing orders so that that will allow members of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes on that agenda item. Are you happy, members, that we suspend standing orders for those purposes? Yeah, nods all round. Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, agenda item 5, public question time. I know we have one public question from Mr. Grocott. Who's not coming? Okay, fine. Okay, just looking for Mr. Grocott because I would expect him to be here, but that's fine. So I will read his question. By whom and how frequently will the e-bikes be serviced? What systems are in place to ensure user competence? And finally, what data is being collected in order to determine the success or otherwise of the experiment? Over to you to answer that one, please, Councillor Birch.
Thank you. Totnes Bike Hub, which is a local community interest company bike repair business in Totnes, are contracted to maintain the electric cat bikes. The bikes all have weekly checks for basic operation and monthly in-depth checks. Totnes Bike Hub will also carry out full servicing once a year on the full fleet. We require the regular submission of a maintenance and issues log, and we conducted a risk assessment from the outset, which ensures appropriate controls are in place to manage risk. In terms of user competence, all users must sign the terms and conditions of the scheme and are advised in the app to wear a helmet and bright clothing and be considerate of other road users. We have also set out rules of use on our webpage, which provides further details of being a considerate and safe cyclist. We've also provided adult cycle training by working with Active Devon and have so far run 2 days offering free sessions on the cat bikes with Active Devon. At the end of the day, users must decide for themselves if they feel capable of riding the cat bikes and seek training or support if they feel they need it. In terms of measuring the success of the scheme, this will be looked at in a number of ways. We will be reviewing the number and duration of rentals and comparing to schemes in other similar sized towns. We'll also survey users of the scheme at the end to determine the qualitative benefits, such as for those without access to a car and whether it has encouraged users to cycle more. That's the answer to the question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Birch. Mr. White, will you make sure Mr. Grocott gets that as a written response?
Absolutely will do.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. Okay, item 6 then on the agenda is the Executive Forward Plan. Members, you've all got copies of the Forward Plan. Would anyone like to speak to it? Is anything to add in? Any concerns? No, I'm not seeing anything. That's fine. I mean, it's all agreed in advance. You can see what we've got coming in for October, which is going to be medium-term financial strategy, revenue budget monitoring report, capital monitoring report, council tax deduction scheme. There's a leisure update, There's a climate change and biodiversity action, net zero update. There's a community development action plan update. There's an arts and strategy update. And there's a task and finish concluding report on consultation and engagement. There are a procurement strategy, a piece on Southampton Festival, and a request for a long lease in Dartmouth. So it's quite a busy agenda. It might be that, yes, it might be a case of bring your sandwiches that day, absolutely, yes. But nothing to add? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. White, we're okay with that one. Right, let's get on to the substantive items then. Agenda item 7 is Kingsbridge Pump Track. Councillor Brazil, it's your portfolio, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. So if I give a bit of background to this, as it happens, we could do this without any decision at all. We could build the pump track, or the pump track could be built, and it would fall under permitted development. But we felt as a council that would not give the open and transparent debate that needs to be had around this, because there are people who are in favour of it and people who are very much opposed to it. So it was felt very much that there should be an opportunity, and I thank you, Dan, for suspending standing orders, which will allow both people in favour and opposed to it to put their points of view to you, because you know, if we just did it and didn't have this open meeting of where the points are discussed, I think people would rightly feel that it just wouldn't look right. So that's why it's come here today. If I say my own view when I read through the paper is that, and looking at the pros and cons of it, I have to say that I would be, you know, I'm minded to support this, and not least because I think that the town council has shown itself to be a massive supporter of this, has thrown its weight behind it, not only in motions but also with cash support as well. And you know, the town council represents its town. It's for the town to decide on issues that would affect Kingsbridge town, and let's face it, it's not really going to affect the rest of the South Hams. It will affect the town, I think that gives great weight to supporting this. I do understand that for nearby neighbours that there is concerns, and that I'm sure that if we do vote to support this, that as it progresses, then we will look to mitigate any of those concerns as much as we can. On a more general view, so at the county council we have a youth council there, and we ask, so there's that talk to the young people of Devon across the whole of Devon, and say what their top priorities are. And the top priority that they came out with was places to go and things to do. And I think that this pump track is exactly that and fits that bill. It shows that we're listening to the young people in Devon and saying to them, you know, they are our future after all, that actually we do care about you. We want to do as much as we can to support you and do the things that you want to do. And, you know, it's very easy to categorise young people as troublemakers. And, you know, we've got our own, we do have that in Kingsbridge as well. But I think then the responsibility to us is to say, well, what are we going to do to try and mitigate that? And I think providing facilities like this is an excellent way of mitigating those problems. Can I just also say that the other thing that gives me confidence about this is that you will have heard me talk about it before, and that is that that we've got a new skate park in Kingsbridge. Of all the projects that I've seen in the South Hams since I've been a councillor, which is a long time, I just think it's probably, if not the best, one of the best things that has ever happened. That skate park is populated by young people, day in, day out, summer, winter, the whole time. It's become a real focal point. And again, you may think, oh well, it's going to gather antisocial behaviour. It hasn't at all. It's been a real asset, and I hope that the young people have enjoy it, and indeed people come from outside of Kingsbridge now to use that facility. So, look, this is controversial. I understand that, and there will be some people who will be upset. But I think the balance of it is that the benefits that this will bring to the town and to the young people in the town outweighs some of the concerns that local residents might have. And also, I think we always tend to fear the worst, and actually, that isn't mainly the case. And just an example, I remember when some people wanted to put up some wind turbines out at Coleridge, and the local residents were all absolutely, this was the end of the world and it can't happen. When they did it, I remember going and sort of knocking on a few doors about a year later, and the turbines were there. And I said, oh, by the way, how's it going with the turbines? And the lady said to me, she said, I'm totally opposed to it. But I have to say that when my grandchildren come and stay now, it's the first thing I want to do is go and look at them. They find it really fascinating. So, I understand the fears and concerns, but I think that in the long term, this will be seen as a fantastic asset for Kingsbridge, like the skate park. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brazil. Mr. Sakula, do you want to come in on the technical side of things?
I mean, I could speak at length about the report and what's in there, but assuming all members have read it, I could probably leave it at that. Councillor Thomas, if you're happy with that, and just take questions later if needed.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. White, how are we taking members of the public at this point then, please? Some guidance.
Thank you, Leader. If we're consistent with, which I think is the wish, the Development Management Committee Public Participation Scheme will therefore have a 3-minute slot for a named objector, 3 minutes for a supporter, and 3 minutes for the local town council. Thank you. With, after each juncture, the opportunity for questions from members as well.
In which case, do we have a named person speaking as an objector? Okay. Grant, would you like to come forward? And then make yourself comfortable. You'll have a microphone in front of you. And then when you're ready to speak, the button on the right. Yeah, I mean, to ask questions of the, or just in general. No, we'll have a chance. Well, yeah, when we get into debate, Bernard, we'll yeah, that's fine.
Good morning. My name is Christine East. I'm representing the objectors to a pump track being built in Kingsbridge Recreation Ground. We're not against a pump track as per se. Firstly, we do not believe there has been a full and balanced consultation giving the residents and users of the rec a fair opportunity to comment. The Scouts and all the users of the park who have signed our petition did not know of these plans, even though they had appeared in the local paper that the council had given permission for this to go ahead. The consultation and survey that did happen was mainly run by the team proposing the pump track, with one poorly publicised meeting in the town. I quote, "Do you support our aim to provide Kingsbridge with a pump track? Yes, no." That is the question at the beginning of the survey. There is no space to say that you want a pump track, but not at the expense of the only green ball-playing space in the recreation ground. Since the original consultation, the design has changed to move it away from nearby houses, so that it is now positioned alongside the footpath. This raises safety and access issues. We are not against a pump track, but it needs to be in the right place. A previous skate park in this location had to be removed more than 10 years ago due to noise and nuisance, and this pump track would also be used by skateboarders. Already, many lovely kids use this green facility to have fun, to kick a ball around, and to use up excess energy after a day in school. The space, which would be seriously curtailed in the current design, is also used by parents and grandparents to have games of football with their children. There are 5 scout groups that regularly use the games green for their activities, which benefit hundreds of children of all ages throughout the year. The green is used for family gatherings, celebrations, and Fair Week activities, such as the much-loved Teddy Bears picnic. A pump track would make the grass space permanently unavailable for these and many other activities. Added to this are safety issues. The no cycling sign in the recreation ground is there for a good reason, and changing this would compromise the safety of all who walk in the park, including small children and elderly people. It is right beside the public footpath that runs through the park, and it is close to the designated children's play areas, where children of all ages run around and run onto the green to play. It should remain a safe space. The access to the remaining grass area would be small and dangerous if the pump track is put in this proposed location.
Could I ask you to come to the end, because you're at the end of your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we think these safety issues should have been considered. The other pump tracks we have been to see are situated in large open areas and not near houses or on land frequently used for other purposes. We maintain that it is not a suitable site for a pump track, and we would ask that South Hams runs its own full consultation and assessment, considering the safety concerns, views of the users of the rec, and looking at the other options for the best location before moving forwards.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, don't go anywhere yet.
I'd stay here.
Councillors, any questions on that which you've just heard? Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you. So I just wanted to, you say you've actually looked at other pump tracks. There's one in Dartington, which is in my ward, and it shares an access through from what's a place that's called Things Happen Here or Meadowbrook Community Centre. There's a shared, very narrow access to the main recreational ground and also to this pump track. That's been in place now for probably about 3 years, possibly longer than that. And I just wonder if you've been there, because at no point, and that pump track has a lot of use, and it doesn't, and there's never been any issue around safety. There's been no incidents with that shared access, and that is an access that you'll see people walking on with buggies and older people with perhaps, you know, walking aids to get to the main recreational area. But there's been no conflicts in terms of any. So I'm just saying that to you. So I just wonder if you've seen that, because it's
No,
not much wider than this table actually, because it's an old bridge that is the main access through the joint
I haven't
access.
seen that, but we
And
have.
it might be worth looking at that. But
we
the other thing,
have, well,
if I
we
may
have
say,
access. We have 3 access areas.
I'm sorry, you're not answering my question. Have
Sorry.
you actually seen that access?
No,
Because
I
it might
haven't
give you
seen that.
confidence, is all I'm saying. And the other thing I was going to say is, if you do go along there and have a look, what you will see is it's a lot of much younger children using it. So it's not like the skate park, which has the older, bigger ones. It's the younger ones. So as much as I hear what you say about the skate park being used in that way, I think it might comfort you to see that it's actually a lot of smaller kids all sort of looking out for each other. So it's not a mad affray, put it that way. And I wondered if I think it might be a useful thing to you to have a look at, to give a more of a maybe a
Well,
rounded understanding.
Okay. I don't know about that one because I haven't seen that one. The access to the one at Morley is single access. The play area is well protected, and that seems fine. In the recreation ground in Kingsbridge, there's an entrance in Derby Road, and there's 3 entrances from Embankment Road. And I mean, they cycle down the steps into the park. They cycle through the pathways. There's a lot of ways they can cycle. They can cycle across the grass and down the hills and things that are there. So it would encourage more cycling from all ages. It's in the park, in the whole park. And that's what we feel does represent more danger to people using the park, especially small children, because the play area, there's partly walled off play area for little children, but they do come over the wall and they go to the other play area, and they also play on the green.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, councillors? Questions, Councillor Rake.
Thank you. Good morning. You raise a number of concerns. I just want to get, are you a neighbour of the park or?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hancock.
Hi, good morning. I'm not from Kingsbridge, so my question is more about the local facilities. So one of the concerns that you raised is the lack of the loss of amenity that this change of use would create, notably for ball games, so football and,
Yes.
and the like, presumably. Are there other facilities for those activities within Kingsbridge?
Well, within Kingsbridge possibly, but within that recreation ground, there is a prohibition for ball games at the front of the recreation ground. So there is only that space, which is the proposed space for the pump track for ball games, and they do use it.
Thank you. Councillor Hopwood.
Sorry, I'm not from Kingsbridge as well. So, can you? There's the two tennis courts.
Yes.
The opposite side of those tennis courts to where the pump track's going. What's that open space there? Both. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And then what's the open space beyond that?
It's where the pond is.
Is that a pond?
There's a pond.
Yeah. Yes. What's that space there?
That is a green space.
So that's an open space.
That is an open space.
Okay, thank you.
That's the space to which was just referred as having a prohibition.
Prohibition for ball games.
Yes.
Yeah.
For what reason? Do you know? Ah.
What was that? Sorry, Councillor?
I guessed that it was because it was next to the road.
Is that your understanding, Councillor Brazil?
No, I was going to say that obviously it's the district council's park, so that's a decision that we've taken. So it's not something that's set in stone. But yeah, I mean, because it's next to a road, they may feel that reason.
Okay. Any more questions for the objector? In which case, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know.
Adam, I think you're speaking in support, aren't you? Well, you know the drill. You've just seen. So.
Hi, I'm Adam Sherring. I'm a member of the Kingsbridge Skate Park Committee who have partnered up with Kingsbridge Town Council to help deliver the pump track. We have a prepared statement. The community responses in our consultation have been overwhelmingly supportive. Of the 491 responses, the survey showed 99% in favour. A recent follow-up survey came back with 97% from 526 responses. Even among the small number of people who did back the proposal outright, they still supported the community having a pump track, though mainly unsure of the location. Of the 4 council-owned sites that could sustain a pump track, the rear of the recreation ground was the favoured location with 42% of the votes. Duncan Park and Rack Park were largely ruled out as Kingsbridge already has very limited off-lead areas for dogs. The front of the recreation ground was seen as best suited for community events, picnics, and as a visually appealing green space. That left the rear of the recreation ground as the most suitable option. This preferred location is a common area of activity with an existing level of play noise from the tennis courts, play park, and casual football. A pump track would therefore be a natural and appropriate fit within current usage and not alter existing noise levels or patterns. A pump track is very different to a skate park in terms of noise. Our design will focus purely on bicycle use, which create little noise with pneumatic tyres. Scooters and skateboards can use it, but there'll be no obstacles that create noise, the primary reason skate parks are treated differently in any noise impact assessment. This setting is also a widely accepted model elsewhere. Many of our local pump tracks sit right alongside play parks, playing fields, and family-friendly spaces. They work well as an active community hub, a desire raised repeatedly for our consultation. One of the main concerns raised was the potential change of use of the green space. The pump track would take up between 500 and 750 square metres. According to Natural England's Green Infrastructure Framework, this change of use does not constitute a loss. What we are really doing is reimagining a very small part of that that would be categorised in the same way as the tennis courts or the bowling green it would sit adjacent to. Kingsbridge has circa 19,000 square metres of easily accessible council-owned space. This 3 to 4% change in use to provide the only designated cycling space is an effective use of land supported by our neighbourhood and OSSR plan. Town events such as the Teddy Bears Picnic can still go ahead. The front of the recreation ground is large and are very underutilised as a communal space. Football will still be possible, although on a smaller pitch, not forgetting that Duncan Park can easily host larger sided games if required. There was also concerns raised about a potential increase in antisocial behaviour. There is no evidence to support this. In fact, the evidence suggests the opposite. Studies show that they help reduce antisocial behaviour by giving young people a positive outlet. We can look to the skate park for proof. The police have stated that community use appears to encourage positive behaviour, with no evidence of the skate park being used as a location for illegal or antisocial activity. That is local direct evidence that these facilities work as intended. The consultation had many positive comments from respondents excited to have a track in their own town. Many families currently travel outside their district to tracks in Chudley and Exeter, which is not only time consuming and costly, but also has an environmental impact. Providing a local facility would remove barriers for those without transport, offering children an accessible opportunity to be more active, social, and less screen dependent.
Could I ask you to wind up, please?
Okay. I might have to cut out a few things. I'll just jump to the last paragraph. Finally, I'd like to stress that we're not taking anything away from Kingsbridge. We're simply adding another essential free-to-use facility our community would love to have on their doorstep. Football will continue, events can still take place, and the community will have its first designated cycling space. Investing in people's mental, physical, and social well-being is more important than ever. I hope you agree and approve the project.
Thank you very much. Councillors, same as before. Questions, please. Questions. Councillor Hopwood.
Can I just, is all the funding in place?
A good portion of it, yes.
What's a good portion?
So as it stands, we have 55,000. I met with a contractor yesterday to give me a ballpark figure, and he says he can do a really good track for 75. So we're 20 short.
And any idea where you're going to get that from?
We will crowdfund. I might approach South Hams District Council. I have experience in fundraising. I helped raise $250,000 for the skate park, so I feel like I could raise the 20.
Fab. Can I ask another question? Your committee, I presume it's made up of young people and adults?
Yeah, good mix of both, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Rake.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for taking the time to come in this morning. You said that people, if they want to use a pump track, go to Chudley and Exeter.
Yeah.
As someone who was instrumental in, probably overstating it, but involved in the creation of the Morley pump track, any reason why they avoid Morley?
They don't. No, you're correct. And actually, I've been many times, and it is a very good track. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it's more. I was probably trying to impress that people travel quite long distances to find pump tracks. But certainly Morley is definitely one that's well used. Yes.
But on that, I suppose I have a slight concern that I'm always concerned about the latest shiny things. And there seems to be a sort of a spate of interest in pump tracks.
Yeah.
Do you see this as do you think this is a sustainable, lasting use, or do you think that I mean...
Wait, do you mean the number that are being created?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with skate parks, we're at something like 2,000 skate parks in the UK. Pump tracks were at last count, I think it was about 500. But the barrier, the way I look at it is that most people have a bike, most children have a bike. I think Sport England did a report, well, I know Sport England did a report, it was 5 years ago now, but they said that 88% of 5 to 10-year-olds have a bicycle. So the barrier to entry is really low. And bicycle will always be one of the most popular sports, and there's absolutely room to have a skate park and a pump track in the same location.
Thank you. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you. Just thinking about some of the concerns that have been raised about sort of behaviours. Are you planning on any events if it comes to be and it's in place, where you could actually have events for the youngsters to understand a little bit about being considerate to others?
Yeah, we most likely will mirror what we did with the skate park. We held many events. We do an annual skate jam, but we've held female-only and non-binary events. We're quite engaged with the people that use it, and we'll continue to do that with the pump track.
David, yeah, Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, good morning. When you've been looking into the evidence for pump tracks, and is there a link between the presence of pump tracks in local communities and cycling use for younger people in particular? I mean, is there a benefit in terms of young people learning how to cycle and cycling regularly? Are you aware of? I mean,
no, I haven't found a study necessarily like that, but Kingsbridge has no designated cycling space, and youngsters. This will give youngsters. I mean, we're mainly targeting the younger children for sure, and this will give them a safe space to learn the skills necessary to continue when they're ready to actually cycle on the roads. Because as I'm sure you're aware, the roads around our way aren't particularly safe or conducive to cycling. But this will set them up with the key skills, I believe, to help them progress from there.
Question from me about the consultation process. You heard from the objector that one of the principal concerns around this was the consultation, particularly around the 5 scout groups and the park users. Can you talk to us about how confident you are that your consultation, or otherwise, that your consultation achieved what it set out to achieve? Because you've given us numbers in terms of 491 responses here, 527 responses there, and they're good numbers.
Yeah.
But the claim is that not all the right people were consulted.
Okay, so we followed basically the same principles that I used for the skate park public consultation. So in June 2024 is when we first put out the survey, and we initially shared that through social media groups, but we put it into community groups, so it got to as wide an audience as possible. I've got some insight figures from our Facebook that it reached 28,000 people. We then, when I approached the council, we then organised a face-to-face consultation, which was done at the same time as the annual town meeting, which was advertised in the paper and through Kingsbridge Town Council's social media. And we did a secondary consultation recently to make sure that, because there's been a long time, I think, between that first consultation, just to make sure that we are doing the right thing. So it gave me the confidence that we've done it. We've gone about it the right way. It's certainly an accepted process when we built the skate park.
But it would be fair to say that if you were a social media user, you're more likely to have come across what was going on than if you weren't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so that's why we went through the paper to try and use that as a media and trying to do the face-to-face meeting within in town.
Councillors, any more questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Hey, Town Council. You know the drill, Julia, I don't need to.
Morning, Julia Wingate, Town Council, Mayor for Kingsbridge. The Kingsbridge Open Space Sport and Recreation Plan, covering the periods 2018 to 2028, includes the project for a pump track with an estimated cost of about $75,000. Our neighbourhood plan designated the recreation ground as a local green space and notes that upgrades and renovating existing buildings and small-scale structures to support sporting and catering facilities are under consideration and will not compromise the designation. And the plan was supported overwhelmingly by the District Council in 2022. We fully support this project and have worked with the Pump Track Committee to ensure consultation was widely promoted. A quarter of the questions gave the opportunity to object to the proposals. Additionally, an open question allowed for any other comments. The 491 responses showed overwhelming support. A few objectors to these plans have spread misinformation regarding the site. The uses include citing of 2 pump tracks, stating there is a no cycling rule in the park, and stating there will be no longer room for picnics, footballs or running around. None of these are true. The local police have given their support. To paraphrase, the broad community use of the skate park appears to encourage positive behaviour with no evidence of the location being used for illegal or antisocial activity. It is anticipated that the proposed pump track will have a similar positive impact. It will engage young people in a constructed and often supervised environment. The pump track area is already monitored by both fixed and roving CCTV. There have been no concerns about antisocial behaviour raised. A youth survey we conducted late August this year with 25 random checks between 10:30 in the morning and 7:30 at night. We had only 6 sightings on that piece of land. 1 dog walker, 1 child on a scooter, 4 small groups of no more than 5 people kicking a ball about, proving that the land is largely underused even during peak season in good weather. The adjacent tennis and play facilities were very well populated in comparison. A pump track in this location would be an added benefit of making the Recreation Ground Cafe more sustainable. The Town Council have a budget of $55,000 for the pump track. The amount approved into what essentially is a district council asset is nearly 20% of our annual precept, not an insignificant sum. The Town Council requests the Executive Committee give their full approval to this amazing project to enable our town to continue to provide a wide range of leisure facilities that can be enjoyed by all at no cost of the community and many of the visitors that we welcome each year.
Spot on. Time-wise, well done. Thank you. Okay. Questions for Councillor Wingate? Councillors? Councillor Hancock.
Hi. One of the concerns raised earlier was about the loss of space that the Kingsbridge Scout groups use, that they use the space regularly, and that this would be sort of detrimental to that use. I mean, I must confess, my children are all in the Cubs and Scouts and stuff, so I'm sort of slightly biased towards them. But what's your understanding? Presumably, those concerns have been raised to the town council as well, and so what has been the town council's response to those concerns?
I'm not aware that the Scout group have written to the Town Council and asked for a specific answer. I know talking to them on 1 or 2 site meetings, the Scout hut is located just up the hill from the piece of ground. So some evenings they do come out of the hall and use the space. They sometimes use it for cycling. So the fact that there'd be a pump track there you could see as an asset. Yes, it does limit some of the playing grass space when they're doing their wide games, but some of those games could still be played on that space with a pump track, or they could walk to the other end of the park where there's more recreational green space. It's just a different use, I think.
Thank you. Councillors? No? Nothing at this stage? No? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wingate. That's grand. Okay. Right, well, members, we've heard the development management side of it, as it were. So what we will basically do now is, as if we were in a normal exec, we'll go into debate. Councillor Taylor, you asked to speak. I'm happy for you to speak now, if you like.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm coming out in support of this because having local knowledge of a pump track, and there's been no reports of any extra noise on this because it's the guys go in there and they really use it and enjoy themselves, and it's somewhere for young people to go off the streets, because otherwise they'd be cycling up and down the streets and making a nuisance, because it actually reduces antisocial behaviour rather than anything else. And I think it's a damn good plan, and I would support it all the way if I could, but I'm not on the executive, so I can't really, but I can verbally actually support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Okay, Councillor O'Callaghan, a local member as well. Over to you.
Thanks very much, and thanks everyone for speaking to their views on this. As local ward member, I'd just like to say that the Kingsbridge Skate Park is an amazing addition to the town. There've been no problems at all, despite concerns that there might be beforehand. And we've got the skate park committee and the town council, which are putting this forward. And there has been widespread support, including on the local social media group, Kingsbridge Area Community Group. And I have to say, it's not just, certain people are on that. It is a selection of the community which is on that particular Facebook group. There have been paper copies as well. So there has been a reasonable consultation, I would say. We're limited to sites for the pump track. A pump track would be a desirable thing for the town, for young people. Young people do need things to do, and I think it's almost universally acknowledged that there should be a pump track in the town. It's just where it should be. We had limited options. There were 4 council sites which were looked at. I had wondered about the Rack Park one, but people are very keen to be able to continue to walk their dogs off lead there, understandably. It's also a bit tucked away. The proposed one here is at the back of the recreation ground, does have CCTV, as has been said. So that is an advantage. I think 40% in the original consultation said that they preferred that option of the 4. So I think it's the best that we have. The design of the pump track would be done in consultation with the community. Safety would be at the foreground there, I think. Well, I know. So I hope that would help to reassure people's concerns. I understand people's concerns, especially those living nearby to the proposed site. There would still be a green area at the back of the recreation ground. It would be somewhat reduced, but there is, as has been said as well, there is the front of the recreation ground, which could be rejigged. Could be a couple more picnic benches, for example, put there. Events can be held there rather than the back. You could still have some kickabout at the back of the recreation ground. There is Duncan Park as well as an alternative, where there is an established and larger football area. So it is doable, and I think it is desirable as well. So I would be supportive of this as ward member, and I think it's an exciting proposal. And well done to Adam and the town council for pushing this through. And it's not 100% perfect site, and nothing generally is, but I think on balance, I would like to support it and follow the recommendation here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hopwood.
Thank you, Chairman. So my ward is the Woolwell ward, and we had the first pump track supported by South Hams just over 12 months ago, which I'm immensely proud of. And before I say what I'm going to say, I just caught your first name, Adam, but I applaud any community person who fundraises for additional things to go in their community. You are few and far between, and I take my hat off to you for all the time that you're putting into this. I think it's amazing. I've just joined your pump track Facebook group to keep an eye on what you're doing, so I'll be up to see it when it opens. Thank you. So the Woolwell journey is a recent one, and I communicate with my residents through a Facebook page, and that's how I initially got this conversation going, because I wanted one, not because I wanted to use it, but I just want kids off gaming machines, out in the fresh air, and wanting to be outside. There were fors and against. There were obviously more fors than against, and we went ahead, and with the help of Mr. Sakula, and he had an interest because he uses it occasionally. So we had the pump track built, and I have to say, for the first couple of months afterwards, life was not easy for me with complaints, and they were complaints from the pump track was put right next to a pathway, although in the main area of play. And the complaints from residents were that they weren't going onto the pump track the way they should go onto it. They were going onto it from all sides, and that wasn't manageable. So it was fenced. And one thing I say to you is it needs fencing. you will get, and I don't know if the fencing is in your plan, but it has to be fenced, and also with a litter bin. A litter bin was another massive problem because we never put a litter bin in, and that was put in. We also put a rules board up, and the young people made the rules up and put the rules board up. I have to say the rules board was ripped down, but it went up initially and disappeared afterwards. But I read within this report about the concern of antisocial behaviour. Well, we're sort of labelling users with the term antisocial behaviour before we've given them a chance. And I think that antisocial behaviour is actually everywhere has got pockets of antisocial behaviour. It is part of life nowadays, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that we should stop bringing projects forward, because you can't stop a project going forward because a minority will cause antisocial behaviour. So I always think, well, you've got CCTV there. We haven't in Woolwell, but so you're gonna get pockets, but it won't be anything like residents think it's going to be. I've just looked on Google Earth at where this pump track is going to be situated, and it's away from the houses. It's against a footpath. You're going to fence it, you've just said, so you haven't got the problems that we initially had with the... And my suggestion would be to come to the council and ask if at the end of that footpath they could put some sort of... one of those in and out things, I don't know what you call it, so that it would be a real pain in the neck to get your bike past that point. That would really help stop bikes going on, and yet you could still get prams in and scooters. And we did find in Woolwell that actually one of the things that did happen is that young people who went to the local primary school were making their parents get them up early for school. Because during the summer, and we've had 2 summers now, this summer and last summer, on the way to school, they want to use the pump track before school, which is incredible. And then they go off to school and you get the little tackers on their scooters on the pump track. And then they go home and you get a few adults on the pump track. So it's not only young people that use these facilities. I know I'm going on, but I'm going to go on because I'm quite passionate about it. And I just want people to realise, and the objectors, although I hear what you're saying, it really won't be like anything like you think it's going to be. Once the banks, the grass grows through the banks, actually it'll blend quite well into the facility itself. And by looking at Google Earth, one thing I thought is if you put a miniature goalpost against the tennis court, actually young people, whoever, would then have somewhere to kick a ball into as well. I think you've got something missing in that park. I think it's a little mini goalpost, because then that bit would still be used for people to kick into. People coming from outside was an objection. But actually, if you haven't got a pump track, you're going to other areas with your children to use their pump track. So why shouldn't you welcome people into your pump track? That was my view with Woolwell. Our Woolwell kids they would cycle along a very busy dual carriageway road to go into Plymouth. Well, why wouldn't Plymouth children be welcome out to Woolwell? I couldn't quite get my head around that, because we'd been going everywhere for a long time. So I think brilliant. Another skate track for someone to use. Nearly finished, hang on. Users coming to us, rules board, football go. No, I'm done. So I am fully in support of it. I honestly, objectors, the objections will pale to insignificance. You will realise that you can live together. There isn't a noise. The only noise you'll hear is children talking or laughing or playing. Well, that's what you're in. They might use the odd bit of bad language, but that you have to put up with. But, you know, let's hear these kids play instead of on their gaming machines, because they're not locked in their bedrooms. They're out playing, they're in the fresh air, they're making a noise. It's a play park. Let it be used as that.
Thank you, Councillor Hopwood. Thank you. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you. I think you've said an awful lot of what I was thinking as well, which is absolutely brilliant, Nikki. Thank you. And to pick up from where you sort of started and also where you finished in terms of the gaming machines and the phones that the kids spend a lot of time on. For the last 8 years, I've listened to public health reports down up at County Hall as a county councillor, and it is shocking, deeply shocking, the levels of anxiety that are rising in children. Back in 2019, so pre-COVID, I remember there was a report about girls as young, a massive rise in girls as young as 8 self-harming because of anxiety. We've had then COVID, and a lot of youngsters have not even gone back to school. There's a huge problem in our young people, particularly those younger ones, and a lot of it can't even be nailed as to what's going on. But I think one of the things that's really clear is there's not enough opportunity for them to get out and be in safe places. Cars are faster and more prolific than ever before, so rural lanes aren't so accessible for youngsters. They have to have the mum and dad taxi. There's not so much public transport, so they can't go out and feel their independence when they're early teenagers and in puberty, which is, you know, what a lot of us in this room had the opportunity to do, say, 40 years ago. And I think, we're just squeezing and squeezing our youngsters into their bedrooms, as has been said, sitting there on gaming machines and laptops and phones. And unlike some of the sort of like the sort of passive childminder in the corner that was a telly for a lot of people 30 odd years ago, those were much more benign than what we've got now. A lot of kids are really, really prey to people with drugs coming in. And so if we've got somewhere that's out in the open, that the kids can get together and feel safe and have a really good time, they get all that health and well-being, they get the fitness that they really need. A lot of children are overweight, so they actually do need to go do the exercise, and this is somewhere for kids to come to and have their exercise and get well and get fit. But that mental health element of this is often not seen so clearly, and I think it's going to be a really important asset for Kingsbridge. And I think the more we have these places that kids can go to locally, the more easier it is for them to get to and access and have the benefit of. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's never really quite enough for all our young people. And certainly I congratulate you on getting the skate park. But also, while I'm just talking, I would just like to give a huge shout out for Rob Secula for what he's done in Totnes. The skate park there was open 10 days ago. I've never seen so many youngsters all having a great time in one go. It was such fun and so lovely to watch. And I think, thank you, Rob, for what I know you've put years of really good hard work into that. It was 2009 when I joined that committee, so it's taken a long time to kind of be. But these things do take a while, and as Nikki has said, well done to the team down in Kingsbridge that are making this happen, especially when sometimes, it's difficult to challenge when there's objections. But as Nikki has said, I think that the objections will actually decline. It's not as going to be perhaps as what you feared. And I think you'll find it's actually something really nice to know that you're contributing something towards the young people in your area. They have to have a place in our society at a very young age, not just suddenly emerge as well-rounded youngsters at 18. It's not like that. So I absolutely support this.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Hancock.
Thank you. I'm glad that Councillor Hodgson brought up the sort of public health aspect of this, because she's absolutely right. It's crucial that we encourage our young people to get out, to socialise, to exercise, to be part of their communities. But to me, it sounds like the objectors don't disagree with those principles, and I think the question here is about the siting of the use of this particular space, not pump tracks or amenity for young people in general. So I think those are the elements of it that I'm sort of concerned with, and I suppose that those, from what I've heard this morning, seem to be two parts. One is about the use of this space currently for ball games, and one of the use of the scouts. And so I suppose the question is about we're changing the use of the amenity. From one amenity to another, and I suppose my thoughts on this are from the ball game perspective. There will certainly be a loss of amenity here, though there will still be ball games available within the space. Though there are other sites within the town for playing football and the like. So I'm satisfied on that count, I think, because I think we have to be mindful that not all young people want to play football. I have 3 young children. They much prefer a pump track to football. They wouldn't go and play football in a park, but they often go to Dartington to use the pump track. So I think we have to be mindful about ensuring that young people have a variety of activities to do. And the second one is the concerns of the Scouts and their use of it. And I do take that Scouts are an incredible organisation that provides all of these sort of services to many young people from all walks of life. By the look of the map, and it's difficult in this because I don't know the place, there are areas within the park for doing wide games and things like that Scouts are want to do. So I think I don't think it's going to be a huge miss. And I would note, and just from personal experience, I'm currently working with South Brent Beavers on planning a trip to Dartington pump track, potentially for them to do their cycling badge. So I think those other users will be able to use this facility as well. So I am minded to support this. I think based on those are the objections that I find most substantive. I don't think are sufficient for me to object.
Thank you, Councillor Uncle. You actually said a lot of what I was going to say, because it seems to me that nobody in the room disagrees with the importance of having a pump track. Nobody. It's about the actual location. So I suppose my question for Mr. Secula is are you able to reassure the executive that everything has been done that's possible to mitigate noise nuisance or amenity nuisance or anything else, through this plan? What we have to consider is not whether there should be a pump track, but whether you've picked the right site for that pump track.
Yeah, I'll try and keep this short. I think it's been covered at length, really. There are limited opportunities in Kingsbridge, and this, I think, is the best of the bunch, and it's certainly the best of the bunch in terms of what the community have identified. It is a constrained site. There's no way around that, but there is sufficient space to meet what exists as the best guidance currently on siting a facility like this. So there is potential to have a 30-metre separation between the facility and the residential boundaries. Like I say, that's guided by the Fields in Trust guidance, which is the only and perhaps the best steer we can take. There are sensitivities in terms of adjacent paths, in terms of general and what might be considered competing use of the wider green space, but this isn't unique. In terms of a facility like this, several sites that have been mentioned today are adjacent to paths, and quite often narrow paths, fenced or unfenced. So there are ways around this. At this stage, we haven't tendered the project, we haven't looked at detailed design, but there's nothing at this stage that would indicate that it's unachievable. There are lots of issues to consider through the tendering and the design process. And clearly the community have raised certain issues that they would want considered through the design process. But yeah, it's the best of the bunch. There are issues to consider, but that is standard for a project and what you would expect to consider through tendering and delivery.
Okay, thank you. Would any other Councillor Rake? Yep.
Chair. So a lot of, the interface between the pump track and other users of the park, and Councillor Hopwood touched on this. To what extent will our continued involvement in preparing plans be able to sort of supervise that and make sure that we think safety is properly integrated into the design? Because apart from having a sign that says "Do not remove this sign," I think there are genuine concerns. There's a toddler play area, I believe, to the just sort of next door, and the footpath as raised in earlier discussions. And I think some sort of really effective oversight. I entirely trust the skate park and pump track committee to take safety into account, but that some sort of effective oversight of how that's being designed. So I'd just be interested in your reassurances on that.
Yep. So South Hams Council owns the site and will continue to own the site and manage the site. Equally, we would tender the project, so we would be the contract manager. We would be the ones engaging on a daily basis with the appointed contractor. The town council, the community, the skate park group would be involved in the assessment of the tenders, as you would hope, but ultimately it would be a district council project. With any facility like this, you consider these elements within design, but then the thing that you're looking for at the tail end is a post-installation safety report. So it's a ROSPA, the appointed body. ROSPA inspect the facility and they take into account the facility itself, but also its interface with the surrounding area. So they will consider things like whether it's a safer interaction with the wider public, with the football playing public, with toddlers that might want to use a play area. So the project won't get signed off without a satisfactory report, and they traffic light each of the issues, and ultimately if it's signed off it's insurable and it's considered safe in inverted commas. So they will consider these issues, as will we, through the design process. In terms of some of the other facilities, yes, there is a toddler play area nearby. It has a low wall which effectively acts as a fence, but these are issues that we will consider through the design process, and ultimately I'm confident would be signed off from a safety perspective.
Thank you. And I'd also like to thank the lead member, if I may, for bringing this to the committee. I mean, as you said, Councillor Brazil, we could have done this by fiat and just said, no, it's going ahead, whatever. But I think it's important that we've had this discussion, and so thank you for that.
Any other member like to speak? Okay, well, the recommendations are on the screen. The first recommendation asks you to consider and come to a view on whether to support the Kingsbridge Town Council request for the siting of a proposed pump track within Kingsbridge Recreation Ground. So, on a show of hands, please, could I see a view of whether or not there is a view for support for that? Right. I don't think you need to count, Mr. White. There is clearly the view of the executive is that it supports that. So therefore, Councillor Brazil, would you like to propose as number 2 as the mover of the?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Yeah, no, happy to propose it, and also actually, if I may, sorry for your indulgence, to take the opportunity. Nikki, you're absolutely right. We are very, very lucky to have Adam in our community. Can't say we agree on everything, car parking charges, but you know, it's fantastic to have somebody as community-minded, particularly for the young people, and indeed the town council, that have been proactive in supporting this project. And with those words, just happy to propose it.
And a second. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, all those in favour, please. So that is, yeah, that's
clearly carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the public, for your attendance. We will move on to agenda item 8, which is the Corporate Peer Challenge. Yeah, absolutely. I am just going to do that as I turn to my papers anyway. So, members of the exec, you will see that agenda item 8 is the LGA Corporate Peer Challenge follow-up. Recommendations are on the screen. I think the most important thing to talk about is probably that which you'll find in section 2 at page 42, where you will find the actions at 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 and at 2.6. I don't propose to read those because you've all got those in front of you. But would anyone like to, thank you very much, would anyone like to speak to the report, ask any questions, any points of clarity? We're recognising the progress made against the recommendations, and we're agreeing the further actions that I've just referred to. Well, it looks like we agree. That's fine, in which case I'm happy to move from the chair the recommendations as per the screen. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hodgson, thank you. All those in favour?
That's clearly carried. Thank you.
Well, there we are. That was nice and easy. Item 9, debt write-off. Councillor Rake.
Thank you, Chair. I'm struggling to find my report. So this is the periodic debt write-off report that we bring before executive to approve the writing off of debts that have become uncollectible by other means. In this case, for a total of we note the write-off of individual debts under delegated powers of £41,310.74 and approve the write-off of larger individual debts totalling £69,382.22. As ever, I would like to give up my thanks to Jenny and her team. Most people, vast majority of people, 98.81% of people pay their council tax, and where they don't, Jenny and her team work closely or work with them to try and reach some sort of arrangement that helps them, but also which has the twin benefits of it means that those debts are slower to build up, which then means that if they do go into some sort of debtors arrangement, our exposure is reduced. So unless you've got anything to add, Jenny? Wonderful. I present this report to the executive.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. So near the 99. So near. We're waiting for the moment when we can buy the T-shirt. Yeah. Any questions, members of the exec? Councillor Hodgson.
Without making direct reference to the actual the confidential elements of this report, my question really is, I mean, looking at the sort of the fact that these things can build up over a number of years, what can our officers actually do? Not necessarily to clear this debt, but presumably there must be some supports going in for other elements of those people in those households, because if they're failing to pay the council tax, I assume they're maybe failing to find their rent and things like that. Are these people that are cited in the the more detailed draft confidential element, are they getting other supports to help them?
So yeah, very good question, Councillor Hodgson. I mean, I think an element of this is it's kind of a case of clearing the decks to some extent, in terms of putting in place proper procedures, effective procedures, to actually review our aged debts. In terms of the ongoing situation, we do have a number of measures in place to assist people. So a lot of the contact tends to be quite reactive. So, for example, we would send somebody, I don't know, a reminder or a summons, and it's at that point that we would have conversations with them, just actually trying to identify whether or not they might be entitled to council tax reduction, any discounts or exemptions. But that also gives us an opportunity to I don't know, for example, if they have a rental liability, whether or not they may be eligible for a discretionary housing payment. So it is very much sort of a rounded service. We actually want to engage with people and provide them, with the support that we need. We also have partner agencies. Obviously we can refer people to Citizens Advice and other agencies. So yeah, there is a very sort of a rounded, package of support that we can give and do give to people when they contact us.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, members? No? Okay. Councillor Wright, do you want to move?
I'd like to move the recommendations as on screen, please, Chair.
Happy to second from the chair. Members in favour?
Clearly carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms White. Thank you, Jenny. Okay, that brings us to item 10, reports of bodies. And looking at my notes, I guess we are moving straight then, Mr White, to the task and finish hunting on council land. Councillor Birch, are you introducing or am I going straight to the chair of the task and finish? Councillor Birch is very sensible.
No, sorry.
You are?
Yes, and this is really a report that comes from the task and finish group of ONS relating to the motion that was passed a while back concerning hunting on district council land. The task and finish group was tasked with the role of coming up with the protocol that was called for in the motion that was passed by council. Councillor Dennis was the chair of the task and finish group, so I think it would be helpful to ask Councillor Dennis to speak to the recommendation coming out of the task and finish group. But can I just make one point? The item on the agenda is there to approve the protocol, not to have a rerun of the debate that took place a while back at full council. So I think it's careful we don't get sidetracked into re-debating the motion that went before full council. I have one comment to make in that the motion that was passed at council said, and I quote, encourage other local authorities owning land in the council area, including Devon County Council, to adopt a similar resolution. I think this may have been overlooked by the task and finish group. So perhaps I could ask Councillor Dennis to perhaps deal with that. If it is not within the recommendation coming from the task and finish group, then I think that this is something that we as the executive need to follow through on. If it is, and so I just flagged that up. So I would like to suggest that Councillor Dennis speak to the recommendation coming out of the task and finish group.
Thank you, Councillor Birch. Thank you for your advice on governance, and we'll go straight to Councillor Dennis.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, thanks, Councillor Birch. Essentially, as you said, the motion was brought forward by Councillors O'Callaghan and Councillor McKay. And as you intimated, a healthy debate took place in full council on the motion, but it was passed. With the added agreement that a task and finish group be formed just to flesh out the protocol and consider any implications it might have on some of the other departments, such as estates, environmental health and waste. But our primary aim really was to ensure that officers and those departments had the confidence to apply this protocol. So following 2 meetings where we met with the senior estates manager, and we had responses from the waste teams, we got to what you can now see as our recommendation. And so I am obviously presenting that to the executive for to adopt those recommendations. You're quite right, Councillor Birch, that the part of the motion that referred to encouraging other bodies to adopt the same wasn't part of our task and finish group, so that would be for the executive to move forward with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Okay, members. Councillor Hodgson.
I'm looking at page 70. I'm assuming I'm looking to the, sorry, 73. I'm assuming I'm looking at the right bit, which is called the protocol. Part 3 requires written permission to be sought for the use and management of any animal traps on its land and reserves the right to use permission where the council considers they could cause unnecessary and avoidable cruelty or suffering. I would suggest that any animal trap is going to cause unnecessary suffering and cruelty and potential cruelty. I mean, that's the whole point, isn't it? Indiscriminate. I do think that is something that we should, I mean, I would just like to see that have ban written in there. I'm not suggesting we go through the whole thing again, but I would possibly suggest that we even just reserves the right to refuse permission.
Can I just point out that, Councillor Hodgson, that what you've read at number 3 on page 73, that's the background. That's what we agreed at council.
Where's the protocol?
So the protocol starts at the bottom of page 73 where it says protocol. This protocol applies but is not limited to. So that's talking about down there. So what's on the first 4 on is 1, 2, 3 and 4 is what we agreed.
Yeah, but it doesn't really give the detail that's given actually in the protocol applies. I can see where it applies. Yeah. Request the use of requests. But then it doesn't actually explain. The only explanation for the requests for the use are then presumably answered by that item 3 on page 70.
Well, that's the background context. If you feel that the
I think it's vague.
If you think the bullet point at the top of page 74 needs amending, then I would suggest you could probably do that in this forum now.
I would propose then it says bans the use and management of animal traps on council land. I can't see any reason why you would want to be able to use them if you weren't planning. Yeah, but it's still cruel.
Councillor Brazil and then Councillor McKay.
Yeah, no, I hear where Jackie's coming from, but I think there are some unintended consequences there. I mean, personally, if I've got a pest control and I'm trying to get rid of rats or something like that that have infested a council building, I'd prefer to see a trap used than poison, quite frankly. And in that case, if there's an outright ban, then that would not be the case. So actually, I think while it's well intended, I think that as it's written, it gives us the flexibility to deal with. I mean, obviously, what we're talking about are snare traps and things like that, which are absolutely, totally opposed to. But I think on occasion where there may be, and I use pest control as an example, then we should be allowed to use traps where it is probably the most humane way.
Councillor McKay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need some legal advice really, because I remember that during the course of this conversation, and it is, I think, captured in part of this on page 74, it talks about all use of council land must consider wider benefit of the council area. And I remember this was a specific thing that caused quite a bit of debate as to how that should be included in this, because we can't just go out there and ban things without regards to this sort of an argument. I don't know whether David could comment on
I was going to bring
that issue.
Mr. Fairbairn in anyway, so I'll bring him in now. Yeah. Mr. Fairbairn.
Leader, Mrs. Bowen is
Mrs. Bowen
with me now.
Yes, I think there's a little bit of confusion arising out of this. The protocol, as was mentioned earlier, it supports that motion. So the motion's been agreed, and that is as it is. This supports that. And where you're reading now under the protocol, it says where this protocol will apply. So it's in consideration of applications for events on council land and requests for the use of management of animal traps on council land. So this is just how we would deal with it. We're not interfering in any way with the wording of the motion. The wording of the motion is as is. So this is just how we will deal with those. It's meant for the officers, mainly in the assets team, to deal with any requests that come in to do with our units or open land or whatever it happens to be. And this just clarifies for the events team what it is they need to be looking at in order to interpret the motion. So that's it was its purpose. It doesn't say that it's going to ban or do anything else. It's not a comment on the actual motion wording. It is how we will deal with it.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, I mean, just directly to Councillor Hodgson's point, though I happy to have a debate about the merits of banning or not, I think what this is about is enacting what was agreed by full council, and that was not a ban. And so I don't think it's appropriate for us to be sort of changing that at this stage.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Councillor Birch.
Yeah, I was going to make the same point. I mean, points 1 to 4 are was agreed by council. And putting it bluntly, we can't play around with that at this meeting. It's a council decision. We're just, and as I said earlier, we are dealing with the protocol arising out of Councillor Dennis's task and finish group. Therefore, if any items 1 to 4 is to be amended, then it can only be amended by full council, a reference back to full council. So I think we need to be careful that we don't go wandering off into redebating the motion that was agreed by council.
No, I think we've yeah. Thank you, Councillor Birch. I think we've dealt with that. That's grand. Councillor Hodgson.
Can I withdraw my amendment and propose instead that a bullet point 4 under the protocol applies and will only consider requests for humane traps?
Mr. Fairbairn?
I think there's a misunderstanding as to what those bullet points are. All that those bullet points are saying is that the protocol and how the notice of motion will apply, they will apply whenever we get a request for the use of the council land in respect of events held on council land, and where we get requests for use of and management of animal traps on council land. Because when you then go to the motion says that we will require written permission to be sought for the use and management of any animal traps on its land. The bullet points where it says it applies are only to deal with the circumstances in which we will then go on to consider the motion. There's no need to include ban or reference to bans in there.
Yeah, because what you're actually saying, Mr. Fairman, is when the application comes in, if the protocol is being dealt with and the feeling by officers is that it's unnecessary, unavoidable cruelty or suffering, then you simply wouldn't allow it.
Absolutely.
You're empowered so to do by the council's position.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Councillor McKay.
Just as a point of clarification, the context bit, that paragraph that I read out earlier, can you explain what the implications of that are in the application of the protocol?
The protocol sets out the context in which we will then go through the steps of the council's motion. So when for example, if the events team gets an application for an event on its land, it will look at this to see if there's anything it needs to consider. And it refers back to the Animal Welfare Act and actually a Mammals Act in a later version. So it just sets out the context in which the officer will need to apply this to interpret the motion or support the motion.
My question is, Section 120 of the Local Government Act, how would that be considered in relation to applying the 4 points above? I mean, when sitting down at a desk and saying, right, I've got an application and I've got this, how would that be taken into account? What would be the decision process there? I'm a bit confused by the implications of that.
Sorry, I'm not really sure.
Did you want to come in, Councillor Dennis, at this point?
What I'm supposed to be, how to answer that.
That's fine, Mrs. Bone. Councillor Dennis, did you want to come in?
It's not really in response to Councillor McKay because I'm not quite sure I understand what he means either. But I was, perhaps it might help if I just explain some of the processes some of the things we thought about during the task and finish group. So, for what came about during the task and finish group was that there were, perhaps as Councillor Bazil said, unintended consequences, elements of the council's operations that we hadn't considered that this motion might have an impact on. So I have to draw your attention to the fact that during our conversation it was decided that fishing activities would be excluded from the scope of this motion. But also what perhaps hadn't been considered was when we get applications for market stall holders, when we get applications for new tenants for the estates, and of course for any sort of filming on council land. So I think those departments, perhaps it hadn't been thought about whether it would have an implication. And so we did a review of all our current tenants or our current market stall holders to see whether the motion would affect them at all. So that's really what we've spent our time doing in the task and finish group. It was just fleshing out and just checking the implications that the motion might have.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Now, moving back, I think what Councillor McKay was asking was in the context of the Local Government Act, what's the decision-making process around our decision-making as to whether we can't say no because of the benefit, improvement or development question? That's what you're talking about, isn't it? I think Mr. Fairbairn's happy to give you an answer.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. We have to manage our land for the benefit and improvement and development of our area. That's the statutory requirement. In reaching that conclusion as to whether or not something is for the benefit or improves or develops the land, it will be quite right and proper for the decision maker to take into account the animal welfare issues that have been raised and are dealt with by that motion. So it's simply all it's saying is that in assessing whether there's a benefit, whether or not the proposed use or what have you is for the benefit or improvement of the development of the area, the council will have regard to that the motion. Okay.
Thank you very much. Waited patiently, Councillor Hotwood.
Yeah, I'm completely lost now, but so I'll just go on to my bit because I am a bit lost. So you've just said manage our land for the benefit or improvement of council land,
Council's area.
the council's area. So I wasn't going to start off by saying this, but so I'm interested in point 2 of the motion. Will not facilitate or promote the killing of animals for sport or leisure by allowing its land to be used for such sports or associated activities.
Which is the decision of the council, Councillor
Which is
Hopwood.
I'm well aware of that. Thank you for reminding me. So, this all started because a hunt meet traditionally or have traditionally met on Boxing Day every year for eons. Since 2004, hunting was banned, and hunting it has now become trail hunting. So we need to be really clear that trail hunting does not involve the killing of an animal. Full stop. That is against the law to kill an animal, and so it should be. So a hunt will go out and trail hunt within the law. The only land that South Hams own that has stopped this organisation I forget what hunt it is it Erne Valley Hunt? Has stopped the Boxing Day hunt taking place is because they meet in a car park. And then once they've left that car park, they go off onto land that belongs to private individuals. So they will never be hunting, they will never be trail hunting or hunting on council land. That is a gathering point. So the trail won't be set on the car park. The trail will be set at a point where the trail has been set, which will be on private ground. So actually, in this motion, one question is, why would we stop a gathering on a car park where no trail hunting, no promotion of the killing of animals for sport of leisure is used? It's a gathering. Yes, it's a gathering for a means to an end, but it's still only a gathering on council land. So, yeah, I'm not going to repeat myself, but so that's my point. So that's what I'm a little confused over that, because actually that's just the gathering point. It also says, by allowing its land to be used for such sports or associated activities. How is trail hunting an associated activity to the promotion, facilitate or promoting the killing of animals? Because trail hunting actually was brought in to stop the killing of animals. So trail hunting cannot be seen as an associated activity to hunting because hunting was stopped. So I think that the wording is wrong. I think that the wording actually, if you read it in the right context, lawyer or not, we can allow meetings on council-owned land as i.e. Kingsbridge Car Park, because we're only meeting there. They are only meeting there. They are not trailing there. They are not killing there. But, and my second part is, how do you make trail hunting an associated activity of killing animals? It's nothing, it's a completely separate activity. Hunting was stopped 2004, trail hunting was started. They're two separate activities.
Councillor Hopwood, thank you. Okay, we are not, for the avoidance of doubt, councillors, we are not going to revisit what the council agreed. But I am going to answer the two questions you asked because you asked them, and I'm going to answer them because that is in my gift as the leader. So, number one, you asked about number two. We are facilitating what is going on by allowing the group to meet in our land. That is how we are facilitating. If we don't allow them to do that, they can very probably go and meet somewhere else and still trail hunt, and that is entirely up to them. But we will not have facilitated that process because the council does not want our land used. That's number one. Number two, trail hunting. When we can reach a situation where you can assure me that a pack of dogs won't suddenly pick up the trail of a fox and think, oh, that smells nice, I'm going in that direction, then we can have a sensible conversation. But until that happens, I think we're very clear, full council's made that you don't have to agree with me, Councillor Hopwood, but what we're not doing is we're not going over this again because the words say in March 2024, South Hams District Council, the council agreed. And as Councillor Birch has made really clear, as our lead on governance, it's not our job today to change that position. It's our job today to either agree or disagree with the protocol recommendations that officers have given us. So there will be people in this room who support trail hunting, and there will be people in this room that don't. But that isn't actually what's on the agenda for today. What's on the agenda for today is whether or not we support the protocol that Councillor Dennis has presented from the Task and Finish group. Now, if you want to come back, that's absolutely fine. But I think we have to be really clear about why we're here today and why we're not here. Yes, I'll come back to you.
Please don't patronise me.
I'm not patronising you, Councillor Hopwood. I don't think I've ever patronised you, to be fair.
So, the other part of my question is, in the protocol, there are associated activities. How can trail hunting, which does not support the killing of animals, be an associated activities to point 2 of the motion at full council, which says the council will not support the killing of animals? The two are completely separate.
Well, because we know with first-hand evidence of examples in South Hams where trail hunting has led, unfortunately, to exactly that, to the killing of animals. It might not have been the intention of the hunt when it set out, but that's actually what's happened. And I know that because it's been in my county division and in Councillor Hancock's ward. We have first-hand evidence of that. First-hand evidence. But anyway, as I say, you are perfectly entitled, and I suspect you probably will, and I'm not patronising you, but you are perfectly entitled to vote against this, and I suspect you probably will. But I would say, Councillor Hopwood, we have a healthy respect for one another, and I don't believe I've ever patronised you. This is an emotive issue that's already been dealt with at full council. That's the point I'm making. We're not here to go over that again. So I think I'm probably going to ask someone to move the recommendations at this point, and then we'll take it to the vote. So would someone like to move? Councillor McKay, you'd like to move. Could I have a seconder, please? You can speak to it in a second. Councillor O'Callaghan, you're going to second. Councillor McKay, go on. But please remember that we're talking about the protocol.
Yeah, sorry, I don't need to speak to it. I mean, I think it's all been said. I just want to make it clear that the trail hunting has got the word hunting in it. It comes from, its pedigree is from killing animals, and that is the whole point of trying to stop and cease and desist with the whole notion of hunting with dogs, be it with trail hunting or any other kind of hunting. Killing things for pleasure, which is what this is all about, is ultimately what is the moral thing that we're objecting to here, and that's why it was, I think, passed. I'm advised it was unanimous at the council. So I just would encourage you to vote for this. Can I just point out also that the report, my name has been misspelt throughout. I don't know whether that's of any relevance whatsoever, but it's just a bit annoying.
Okay, right. Members, we move to the vote. You have the recommendations in front of you. Note. So what are we doing, Mr. Wright? Mr. Wright, what are we doing?
The executive has now proposed the 2 points of the recommendation at the bottom, which came through the Task and Finish group via ONS. So as it stands now, we've got a proposal which has been seconded to note the work of the Task and Finish group, and secondly to recommend adoption of the protocol, which is attached to the papers.
Members, those in favour? Those against?
That's 8 in favour, 1 against.
Thank you very much.
Leader.
Right, grand. Okay. Everyone got to... Yeah, Councillor Callahan.
Yeah, can I just ask, on a point of practicality, can I just ask that we, if and when applicants do make a request to the events team, the assets team, can we ensure that the departments ensure that whoever's dealing with the applicants give them a full reasoning as to why their application is perhaps not approved?
I suspect moving further, you'd probably like ward members consulted as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that would.
I'm sure you would, but I'm just...
Go without saying, I would hope.
I'm just saying it out
but
loud.
just so nobody's confused when it comes down to the crunch, you know, when it's applied in a practical manner, that no one's feels that they're without the full facts.
I think that note's been taken. Thank you, Councillor Callahan. Okay, so we will move on to the last agenda item today, which is number 11, changes to senior management. That's probably in my name, is it? Yes, it is. Okay, so you'll note the changes in senior management structure and reporting lines. You've read the report. You understand the reasons why are because Mr. Brooke is to take a job somewhere else from December, and so we are looking at an internal restructure. Chief Executive, do you want to talk to this report?
Well, I hope it's self-explanatory, Leader. I'd like to pay tribute to Mr. Brooke. He's a talented individual who's contributed significantly to the work of the council. But having reflected on the time frame we're working to, particularly bearing in mind local government reorganisation on the horizon and the need to continue to deliver the council's plan, the view of myself and the senior team is that this is the right approach to get the skills and capacity in place as rapidly as we can. So thank you, Leader.
Councillor Hopwood.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this paper shows the way forward, how to manage the organisation at a senior level in the circumstances we are in, which are not very, you know, they are difficult circumstances, really difficult with LGR on the horizon, and I think Mr. Brooke will be sorely missed by this organisation, and again, I've worked with him since he first came here, and I think he's a really competent person, and I really do wish him all the luck in his new job, because I think he's made an excellent career move, given the circumstances. I'm sure if we weren't going through LGR, he would still be here, but unfortunately we are, and we are where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hodgson.
I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question during the public part of this meeting, but my question is, is there any legal situation where it's inappropriate for somebody who's working within a local public authority to work with an organisation that they've been associated with as part of their work? I know that applies, I think, in government, but I'm not quite sure the circumstances. I'm just raising the question. I'm not raising any queries. If it's
not normal rules would apply in terms of any conduct and declarations of interest and privacy and confidentiality. So, you know, this happens all the time. People moving from the private sector into the public sector, from the public sector into the private sector. It will be for Mr. Brooke to follow the normal professional rules and responsibilities.
So there's no time lag requirement. I thought that was the situation. Okay, thank you. But just beyond that, I'd just like to say that I think this seems to be the sensible way forward, given the implications of LGR.
Councillor Hancock.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I mean, firstly, I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Brooke for the work that he's done for South Hams over the years. But I'd like to sort of compliment the Chief Executive on the strategy taken here, because I think it's really important to offer officers opportunities to advance within organisations to move up. And I know that we have fantastic officers here, and I'm sure that those who succeed in taking on these responsibilities going forward will do a fantastic job. So I think it's an excellent use of our existing resources.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. Councillor Birch.
Yeah, having worked with Mr. Brooke since May 23, we work very. There's a good team of people within Mr. Brooks' department, and a lot has been achieved. I will leave my vote of thanks until December when he leaves, because I wouldn't want him to rest on his laurels for the next couple of months. So, but he has done a really great job, and we will miss him. But we still got another 2 months, so keep working well, Chris, as they say. What is the recommendation on the paper? I certainly support. I think it's a good move forward, and look forward to working with the new assistant director as set out in the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Birch. Any other questions or comments from members? No. Okay. Well, as you say, Councillor Birch, we'll save the eulogy until December. So, yeah. And at that point, I'll move the recommendation as per the screen. Councillor Rake seconding. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much.
Noted. Thank you.
And that concludes today's executive meeting. Thank you very much.